welcome to the EVA Media World of Business Aviation podcast. Thank you for joining us again. I hope it's again, maybe it's your first time. As ever, let us know what you think. I'm Paul Eden, editor of EVA Magazine, and joining me today, you can see I have the very enthusiastic Natalie Rodriguez, principal of Natalie Rodriguez Luxury Design. Hello, Natalie.
Hi. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of your podcast, Paul. I'm so excited to be here.
Hey, it's no problem at all. So these podcasts are all about just having conversations with aviation people, but it's only fair at the beginning for me to say to you, you've got a 3-minute pitch. Tell me all about your luxury design business.
Yes, absolutely. So Natalie Rodriguez Luxury Design is a VVIP luxury design practice specializing specifically in private, corporate, and head of state aircraft. And specifically narrow and wide body airframes are what we do the most. However, we do support light to long range business jet programs. We have roughly about just shy of 10 years experience, but Natalie Rodriguez Luxury Design is going to be 2 years old in July, and we're very excited about that. And It's been such a wonderful journey. It's been a wonderful ride. Personally, I did not know that I was going to open a luxury design practice. I thought I was going to stick with one aircraft completion center throughout the entirety of my life. But then, you know, the industry has its own but then the industry.
It's got its ups and downs.
Paul, I'm a little nervous. Yes.
You move with them, don't you? As it develops, you move, and you don't always go in the direction that you were expecting to when you started out. I hear that quite often. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Yes. And Gore Design Completions was with them for the first year of my career, and then was with Area Luxury Interiors for 3 years. And then after that was Citadel Completions, right when the pandemic hit. Right. And then after that came my decision to move back to San Antonio and open up my own luxury design practice. And it has been so wonderful, so rewarding. And the industry has been so supportive of this new move. And I'm excited to see what's next.
Fantastic. Okay, I'll return to the aviation part in a little while, but initially, as far as I can tell, your career has been all about design. Design was what you went to university to study, and I just wonder, where did that design inspiration come from? Was it a childhood thing, or later, or where has that all come from?
Well, it's a good question. When I was growing up, I knew that I've always wanted to do something creative. I grew up as a dancer since the age of 3, and I also danced competitively as well as recreationally, but I was really heavy into the competition stuff. So group dances, I was a soloist as well, and then I was part of my dance team in high school. And I would say that I was going to go that route at first. That was really the direction that I wanted to go in, but I knew that growing up as a dancer and then wanting to do that as a career, that might be a little bit more of a challenge. And at least if I were to get a degree in something like interior design, then there might be a little bit more job security on that front. And then I also did a lot of visual arts as well, in addition to dance. So mostly like acrylics, sketching, and mixed media, but I was really into visual arts as well. My mom always took my sister and I to the museum and to just different after-school programs and summer programs that specialized in visual arts. And again, going down the route of being an artist, that might be a little bit of a challenge. So by doing interior design, pursuing that, that was ultimately what led me to design. It's still creative. I can problem solve, but it's definitely more secure job-wise. And then as far as aviation goes, I was actually chatting with my best friend in high school, and we were about 16 at that time. I was in braces, and I told her, I think I want to be an interior designer. This is what I'm going to study in university. And then she goes, oh, my aunt does that, but it's for airplanes. And I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. That's what it's going to be. And I had no idea how I was going to get there, but I knew that that was what I was going to do. And I did not know at that time that her aunt was Kathy Gore of Gore Design. Right. And then when I had gotten on board with them, it was actually after the Maz Aviation acquisition. So I actually didn't end up meeting Kathy until just about a year ago. So it's so crazy how everything just comes back around. And by the way, if I'm going too fast or if I need to like slow down, back it up. And if I start going down different bunny trails, just feel free to stop me.
You are a fast person. You always go fast. We can tell this about you. It's part of what we like about you. So don't worry about a thing. It's all very good. What I do find interesting though is, you said, dancing might be a bit of a challenge. Being an artist might be a bit of a challenge. I'm pretty sure there are way more dancers than there are VVIP aircraft cabin designers, and probably way more artists as well. So I think actually you probably went the route less trodden. But anyway,
Thank you.
we'll delve a bit
Oh,
more
I never
deeply
looked
into
at it
that.
that way. Oh, that's so
Well,
nice, Paul.
you
Thank
know,
you. It
so
makes me feel good.
the choice of planes was purely coincidental because your friend had an aunt who worked on planes, but there are people who design airliner cabins.
Yeah.
But you didn't go just for then the business aviation niche. You got into the VVIP, BBJ, ACJ cabin niche within a niche
Yep.
and made it a success.
Thank
And
you.
I just wonder how that leap from a conversation with a childhood friend to actually going to Citadel or Area or wherever it was, and obviously excelling enough to set out on your own, how that happened. What's the evolution?
That's so funny. So again, I had no clue what I was walking into. And yeah, I guess the short answer is it was a complete accident and I didn't plan for it. I had no idea. So so my friend, we talked about so many different things when we were small, when we were children.
Mm,
And up until university, we really didn't talk much about, what we did for work. I knew that she worked at Gore Design, but I wasn't even entirely sure what the name of the company was. And she had been
right.
working there maybe for about
Got
3 years. I just knew she worked at the place where her aunt used to
Mm,
be a designer. I actually didn't know that Kathy Gore owned the place alongside her husband at that time. Like
right.
I just had no idea. And so it was a complete accident. I had gotten my internship. The director of design's email was kindly given to me. Industry veterans probably know this name, Ken Harvey. He is so, oh my gosh, I still keep in touch with him to this day. And I credit him honestly for just how far I've made it in the
Mm,
industry so far, and he's just so wonderful. But he was the director of design at Gore Design at that time, and so got his email, reached out to him, and then I got an internship with them. And the very first private aircraft that I had ever walked on, it was on the first day of my internship, and it
mm,
was for an A330 that was for a
mm,
head of state in the Middle East. And I mean, what I thought at that time, I thought it was going to be like Gulfstream's Bombardier, and
mhm,
while the aircraft interiors are so beautiful, I imagine smaller platforms like that,
sure.
and I just had no idea it was aircraft of that size. And
Mm,
I looked around, and at that time, I had no idea what I was looking at. I just knew that I loved it and I wanted to be part of this world. And that was when it solidified for me that I knew this is what I was meant to do.
Okay, so you're inside an A330. That's a big space when there's not a lot in it.
Yeah,
Most of us have been in an A330 full of airline seats, but that is a huge tube when it's pretty much
yeah.
empty. So you've walked in. I imagine you've gone, wow, but you're not an aviation enthusiast at this point. That interest in aviation itself is still to come, I think, isn't it? So have you become interested in aviation itself just for itself?
Yes. Oh, 100%. I would say that it's a love that grew starting
Mm,
with design, and it's a love that continues to grow. And I find myself wanting to know just everything that I can possibly absorb about the industry, even if it has absolutely nothing to do with design. It
mm,
just really, really helps. And then also, if there's something on the design front that I should be looking out for that maybe is more of something that an engineer might take care of or
mhm,
someone in production might take care of, it helps to provide that holistic experience, especially when designing and thinking ahead. And that is something that every design department that I've been with, I would say, especially during my time at Area, we really, really made sure to sort of like pre-engineer ahead of time.
mm,
If an engineer were to come back and say, "Oh, you can't do that," we would say, "Oh, well, here, if we do it this way, or that way, would that work?" And then sometimes they'd be like, "Oh, yeah, actually, that's a really great idea. Let's do that. Let's move
mm,
forward with that." Or they might say, "Well, I'm not sure about this way, but here's a way how we can get close to what you're thinking." And so that I've really appreciated. And
mm,
then especially with how much we have to work as a team in aviation, it's never a one-man job. It's
mm,
always as a team. There's always engineering, production, avionics. Everything is a holistic experience. It's a holistic team.
mm,
And I love that about our industry so much. And everybody who's been in it long enough has the same level of passion, I feel, and it's
Mm.
so infectious, and I love it so much. And I would say that that is how I've been able to continue with my passion for this industry
Yeah.
and with my vigor. And I just don't get tired of it. I absolutely love it.
Sure. Given your obvious passion and enthusiasm for the industry, I wonder, have you ever been tempted to the dark side? Have you been tempted away from aviation to, I don't know, buildings or I don't know, anything else that has interior design?
Oh, you want to know something? So I actually have a little bit of experience in residential and
Okay.
commercial business interiors, and it was actually after Gore Design, and they had changed their name at that time to GDC Technics, but they had moved to Fort Worth, and I was invited to go and work for them at their facility after I had after graduation, but I
Mm.
just didn't see myself in Fort Worth at that time, so I decided to stay in San Antonio.
Right.
And an area luxury interiors didn't have an opening at that time. So I was like, oh, what am I going to do now? So then I ended up getting on board with a residential design firm. And I would say that my personal style, I discovered the most about my personal style
Mm.
through that experience. It was only about 6 months when I was with that company, but I would say that that's when I learned about myself and my design style and taste the most. And then after that, worked with a company that did business interiors, specifically business interiors. It was very fast paced.
Mm.
It is not for the light-hearted. It's not for the faint-hearted, definitely.
Right.
It's a completely different world in itself. But I would say that that is how I'm able to keep track of things. I
Mhm.
have my notebook as my best friend, and I just write every single
Right.
thing down because chances are like there are going to be 20 million other things that come up and you have to divert your attention to that, and you think you're
Mm.
going to remember the things, but
Yeah.
it's only because you wrote it down you remember. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I actually credit that part of my holistic design background to my
Mm.
time in business interiors. But I
Right.
have been asked if I would ever venture into luxury yachts. It is
Mm.
something that I've been curious about.
Yeah.
I would say that I'd have to learn a little bit more about it. I'd probably be comfortable with doing like maybe a couple of refurbishments. So
Mm.
changing like the soft surfaces and maybe learning a little bit more about it. It definitely isn't something that I wouldn't be open to.
Mm. Mm.
But aviation interiors, that's what I feel best with. That is my bread and butter, specifically Boeing and Airbus,
Right.
narrowly
Yeah.
wide body aircraft.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Very good. You mentioned earlier the dancing. And I know dancing is still quite a passion for you, but you don't dance to the extent that you used to. But I think you still teach, choreograph, do all that kind of stuff. So tell us, this is the kind of thing that comes out in a conversation that I would never put in an interview. And this, the idea of this podcast is that it's kind of the story behind the people in the interview. So tell us about Natalie, the dancer, the dance teacher.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. And I would say that since I graduated high school, I jumped right into teaching from there. And up until 2020, roundabout, I taught every single year. So it's just been, dance has always been part of my life. It's never just not been part of my life.
Mm.
I would say that I don't do it quite as often just because of how crazy my travel schedule can be. It can be a
Sure.
little bit unpredictable at times. And so I don't want to commit to a class and then have to worry about getting a sub at the last minute. And so
Mm.
I don't do it quite as often, but I do act as a substitute teacher. If somebody wants a piece choreographed, I can still do that. Whether it's a group dance or a solo dance, choreographing for competition specifically are
Right.
some of my favorites. That's kind of that competitive edge that comes out. You know, how can we curate this for this specific dancer, and what can we do to make them score the highest and really
Mhm.
make their skills shine? So I really enjoy that. But yeah, recreational dance, and then competition as well. And I
Right.
would get different classes every year too. So sometimes I would get the competition groups. Actually, most years I would get the competition groups, but then I would also do like ballet, contemporary, lyrical, but then also hip hop a couple times. I wouldn't say that hip hop is my strongest, but
Right.
I can fake it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like a performance. you do what you have to do to make it look good and to make it what it is. But I
Mm.
would say that lyrical contemporary and contortion as well. I also did that more so. Yeah, sorry, it's a lot, but
There's something you don't expect to come up in a
yeah.
podcast as a cabin designer. Oh, I do
Yes.
contortion. Right.
It does
Okay.
come in handy though. It does come in handy when you want to get different skills in your dances. It increases your flexibility, which makes you stronger in your leaps. And then if you want to do tricks on top of that, it also helps with your acrobatic tricks as well. So contortion kind of connects with everything. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't think it's a skill I'm going to need, but
Oh, you
the
never know, Paul. You never know.
the
You
people
might.
the people you're teaching, I think, are quite a lot younger than me, though, aren't they?
Oh my gosh, yes. So they are in, gosh, most of the time they're in grade school, but then up to high school as well.
Right.
So from, I would say from about 7 years old to 18, 17, 18 years old. It's a very big age range, but
Yeah.
sometimes the skill level or the playing field is very even because there is some of these 7-year-olds, 10-year-olds that are just so talented, like monster dancers. And then, 17, 18-year-olds, of course, they're absolutely wonderful as well. But most of the time, like around 14 is when I don't want to say like the skills start to peak, but
Mm,
there are other interests that come about,
sure.
whether
Yeah.
someone's more interested in sports or,
Yeah.
love interests or anything like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, 10 years
Yeah. I
old is
get that.
definitely the sweet spot, I find.
Yeah. I'm guessing the younger ones a little bit like herding cats, but anyway. Um,
Yes.
you mentioned there that you don't commit to teaching too often because of your travel schedule. And I know you're traveling now. I think you're in Germany right now. You're not home in Texas. Um,
Yes.
are you home very often? You seem to be always on the road.
Oh my gosh, no, I'm home quite a bit because I've always got some projects that I'm working on remotely, but from time to time I do have to travel. And so there is the flexibility to do that. I have a mobile office. Essentially, I pack everything up, I take it with me, and it involves like a sketch pad. I've also got an iPad that has sketching
Right.
capabilities, which
Yeah.
Apple just came out with. I'm such a fan of it. But then I've got my whole computer set up as well. So I've got like my desktop set up at home, and then I've got everything that I bring with me whenever I travel. So the work setup, the work situation is very, very flexible.
Yeah.
But I would say it all depends on the project. Every year as well looks different.
Right.
But traveling is definitely a perk. It's a lot of fun to go new places and to explore and see everything. Even if
Mm,
it's in my home country in the States,
sure.
it's always really fun to go cross country, or maybe it's in my backyard, like in Dallas or Houston or something. But it's always really, really fun to get out and explore a bit.
What do friends and family think to you gallivanting around the world like this, doing this weird thing as well? Because let's face it, as we've already said, there are a lot more dancers in the world than there are VVIP cabin designers. So what do people think to that?
Oh my gosh. Well, I get a lot of questions. I will
Yeah.
say that it raises a lot of questions, just whoever it is that I meet. I suppose to start with family and friends, they are very, very proud. And I'm so happy and I'm so blessed, honestly, to have such a wonderful support
Mm,
system in
mm,
my family, in my friends. They are all just extremely supportive of what I do. And it just makes me feel so good. I'm like, oh my gosh, my family and my friends think I can do it. So I'm going to continue doing it.
mm,
And it's just, it's so wonderful. And you can go about it on your own and you can hype yourself up and everything. But I definitely feel blessed to have a really good support system.
sure.
And then strangers that I meet out and about, sometimes I just I don't say it right away,
Mm,
just depending on, how much information, because there are a lot of questions that come up from it.
yeah.
And sometimes you feel comfortable, saying a little bit of what you do, but then sometimes there are the individuals who think, oh, she's lying or
Hmm.
she's bragging.
Yeah.
And, you never want to come off that way for sure. Cause
Yeah.
it's like, oh no, I'm
Yeah.
not lying. It's someone's got to do it. So, I'm doing it.
Yeah. 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 Saying I'm a
Yeah.
dancer is probably more believable, isn't it? So,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So, oh yeah, that's actually a good idea. So next time I don't want to talk about, or next time I don't feel like saying a whole lot, I'll just say, oh yeah, I'm a dancer.
there we
Dance
go.
teacher.
So we're coming towards the end of our little slot here. And what I normally do at this point is I ask guests for a favorite aircraft. And you can give me a favorite aircraft if you would like. But when I'm speaking to designers or engineers, I like to find out if they have a favorite piece of design or engineering. So in your case, a piece of design. And it doesn't have to be a cabin. It could be, I don't know, a dress or a car or a building or whatever. Is there something that you look back at, you look at and think, that is just the business. That absolutely sums up design.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, that's such a hard question. And
Okay.
oh my gosh, that's literally such a hard question. But I would say off the top of my head, if I had to pick a couple things,
Mhm.
I would say when I saw the Burj Khalifa in person in Dubai,
Right.
I just I did not know it was going to be that tall. I mean, you hear it's the tallest building in the world, and
Yeah.
you think, okay, cool, yeah, we're going to go and see that. But then when you're actually there, and then you have coffee in the clouds, like at the very, very
Yeah.
top,
Yeah.
it's just a completely different, like you're so high up, you don't even understand the concept of how
Mm.
high up you are. You
Mm.
almost lose, it's like you're in an airplane. And so you almost don't have a fear of heights at that point, at
Mm.
least for me personally, because again, you're just so high, you almost lose the perception of like how low the ground actually is, because
Yeah.
everything just looks so tiny. They don't even look like ants, just
Mm.
specks. It's
Yeah.
it's just insane. And then one 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 basilica that I really wanted to see in person was the Basilica de la Sagrada Familia, and that's in Barcelona. I really, really, really wanted to go and see that. Back in 2020 in particular, that was when I had plans to go over to Barcelona, and I still haven't been.
Mm.
Hopefully one of these days soon, but I had to cancel that trip because of the pandemic, and I
Yeah.
still haven't been back. And I'm just itching to go because I mean, that basilica is just huge. I can't even like it's tall, it's wide, it's just everything. I want to see it in person. And then I'm just so blown away whenever I see pictures of it. And then when I see people next to it,
Mm.
I have to be part of that. So that's next on my list. Burj Khalifa, I've done that and I've been there and I'll go again and again.
Yeah.
But the Basilica de la Sagrada Familia, I definitely want to go and explore that as well.
Okay. Very cool. All right. So we're recording this just before the eBase show. It's eBase this coming week. Hopefully all being well, this will be out there. People will be listening. If someone sees you wandering the show floor, should they just come up and say hello?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love saying hi to people and I love making new friends in the industry. So yes, I would love to see everybody at eBase. I'm going to be there on days 2 and 3. I'm going to be at the Aircraft Interiors Expo on the first day. So hope
Yeah.
fingers crossed everything goes well with my flight going to Geneva on the second day. I should get in right in the morning. So yes, we'll
Wonderful.
see how everything goes. I'm really excited about it.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, Natalie, thank you very much indeed. It's been an absolute pleasure. That's the end of this World of Business Aviation podcast. As ever, please, if you're listening, let us know, give us your feedback. And once again, Natalie, thank you very much.